this is John Colo with growingyourgreens.com. Today another exciting episode for you. I'm here still on my vacation in South Florida, and a trip to Miami-Dade County would not be complete without visiting one of my favorite parks in the whole entire country, maybe even the world. Where I'm at today is actually the Preston B. Bird Mary Heinlein Fruit and Spice Park. I just call it the Fruit and Spice Park, and we're here down in Homestead, Florida. And this is a public park run by Miami-Dade County, and this was established in like 1944, so it's over 70 years old now, you know, to basically show people, visitors, people in the area, what can be grown here and highlight some of the agricultural, you know, plant products, you know, fruits, vegetables, you know, plants that can be grown here that are of commercial and non-commercial interests. So they have a great collection here. You know, it's focused on edibles. And that's what I'm all into, edibles. I mean, it says fruit and spice, right? And the cool thing about this park is that you can eat the fruit only if it is fallen fruit. You can't pick fruit off the trees, and you can't take it off the park premises except if it's in your belly once you pick it off the ground. In addition, also inside the check-in office, they actually have samples of different fruit. Now, be forewarned, not everything here is edible, and actually there are poisonous plants, so don't eat anything, you know, anytime, wherever you are in the world, unless you absolutely know it's edible and you will stake your life on it. So anyways, let's go ahead and head into the office, check in, pay my money, and show you guys the park. So now I'm at the park entrance, and this is where you're actually gonna go inside and check in, pay your money, your admission to go inside and check out the park. Now I wanna let you guys know that they are open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. 7 days a week. That being said, here's my recommendations for you guys. Don't come on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They're the busiest days, so those are the least likely days you're gonna find anything falling on the ground. And the other tip is get here early. Get here as early as you can in the morning. I'm here early right after they open, and there's like, I don't know, like 6 cars in the parking lot, including mine and maybe some of the workers, hopefully. So there's hardly anybody on the site. I'm here actually on a Monday, but yeah, come here Monday through Thursday, early in the morning, you know, is your best bet, in my opinion. So yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and head inside and see if they got any samples inside the office today. So now I've just checked in the office, paid my admission, and of course you're gonna wanna pick up one of these guys, a walking map. That's actually very important. And you guys can see a sampling of just some of the tropical fruits they have here, including jackfruit, mamey sapote, and they got canistel, black sapote, they got jackfruit, and these other ones. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a close-up on these guys, show you guys what they are, because you probably never had them before. This is one of my favorite areas for tasting at the Fruit and Spice Park, and this is where you can actually eat the stuff, because the stuff outside you might not find any ripe, and it needs to be on the ground before you eat it. You're not allowed to pick from the trees once again. So you're gonna come in here and grab a toothpick, and then you can try the different samples they have on the counter here. Now it varies every single day of the year because it depends on what's ripe and what's in season. So that always continually changes. So today they have the black sapote, Cas fruit, which is kind of like a guava but not pretty kind of sourish, jujube, gambogi, coconut, and of course the jackfruit over here. My favorite of these guys is actually the jackfruit. I love jackfruit. Jackfruit tastes like juicy fruit chewing gum. It's a crunchy kind, really good. But you can sample all these guys and get you excited about actually headed through the garden entrance door and heading into the park. So now I'm at the garden entrance, and through this door is the Fruit and Spice Park. But before you enter the park, please read the park rules right here. You know, fruits and vegetables may not be picked from the plants. Fruits may be sampled from the ground only. Not all plants are edible. Blah, blah, blah. So make sure you abide by those rules before you go into the park, and be a good park citizen so that everybody can enjoy this beautiful park here in Homestead. All right, so upon walking out that door, you guys are gonna see like just fruit trees instantly. So off to the right here, this is known as the black sapote. It's related to persimmon. And what you wanna really do when you're here is actually you always wanna look at the ground because that's where the fallen fruit is, and that's where the ripe fruits are that you can pick and eat. These guys actually are rarely ripen on the tree because they'll usually drop first, but sometimes you'll find them ripe in the tree, but you're not allowed to pick them here. And some of these guys are huge, so yeah, you always want to remember to look down. Anyways, I got to actually hit the head and then I'll take you guys around the fruit and spice park to show you guys what else is growing here and all the cool edible plants. All right, so I wanted to show you guys this. I'm sitting underneath the carambola or star fruit tree. Just got out of the bath and walked out, and look what I'm greeted with. A nice star fruit that probably fell last night, got dented on this side. It got a few ants on it. I'll blow those off. And we'll wipe this guy off, and guess what? This is my first fruit of the day. This is known as a Flang Tongue star fruit, and I wonder if the Wang Chung band of the 80s were named after the Flang Tongue star fruit. I highly doubt it. But man, I really like fallen fruits because they're at their peak ripeness. This is when the tree is ready to give you its fruit and the seeds are ready to be propagated, germinated into a new tree. So yeah, and this guy looks like, unlike star fruits that guys would buy in the grocery store, this is like totally barely any green. You might see a little green at the top. So yeah, we're just gonna eat part of this here. Quite good, really watery, so good. Another thing you might want to bring that actually I didn't bring is a nice knife to cut the fruit and cut the bad spots off. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and enjoy some of my star fruit. So I'm really glad that a new area they have since I came here last, and I'll post a video link down below to the video I came here many years ago. I don't even know how many years ago I was here now, 7 years ago, I have no idea. But anyways, they have this section here that they recently added. It's container garden section. So even if you don't have land to plant some of these fruit trees that I'm going to share with you guys today, you could just get a container to have it on a little patio outside, you know, on your apartment patio or whatever. Now, in general, I recommend growing a vegetable garden in containers. But if you have a lot of vegetables, you know, then grow some fruit trees, right? Now, if you want to keep tropical fruit trees in a non-tropical environment, you can kind of like roll them out in the summer, roll them in the winter. But you got to watch out because some of these tropical fruit trees get really tall. So you want to get smaller dwarf varieties and keep them pruned. But then, you know, you might get some fruit here and there, but it's not going to be like super productive. You're not going to get a ton of fruit, and that's why I recommend growing vegetables. But for fun, for curiosity, just because you're a plant lover, it'd probably be something to do if you're really into it. But yeah, I'm glad they have this to show people that, you know, you can grow in containers. Now, if you're selecting a container for a tree, fruit tree, you want to get the largest size container as you guys could possibly fit in the space and deal with, right? The more root space you could give the tree, the healthier it's going to be. And of course, fill it up with some good soil. I would recommend a fungal dominated compost, you know, for the fruit trees that actually can be very difficult to find. Let's go ahead and continue with the tour today at the Fruit and Spice Park. So one of my favorite areas of the Fruit and Spice Park is this area here. It's actually the Mulberry area, and this is where they got a nice sign. They talk about the mulberries, and they have a lot of different varieties of the mulberries planted, the trees, and the mulberry makes an amazing fruit. I grow actually the Pakistani mulberry, which are actually quite long. It's best to keep them trimmed down, so you want to actually top the center lead on the plant, so it actually encourages branching, so it actually makes more fruit. And then the cool thing is, you know, you prune in the dormant season. You take those cuttings, you just take all the leaves off, stick them in dirt, and they'll, you know, in a pot, in the greenhouse, in the shade, and they'll actually root out and grow a whole new tree from cuttings. So I really like that. Mulberries and figs, you could easily just, you know, cut off branches, stick them in the dirt. It'll make a new one. And down here in South Florida, one of the ones that makes the most sense is the ever-bearing mulberry, the mulberry that actually just grows year-round and continues to make fruit year-round. Now, those fruits are a little bit smaller. That's why I like the Pakistanis that are much larger. Mulberries can be grown here in South Florida, as well as many other climates here in the United States. So that's definitely one I would recommend you guys grow. You know, berries in general are just not eaten enough, and unfortunately mulberries are not a fresh fruit that you will often, if ever, find in a grocery store. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen mulberries in a grocery store. I've seen them at farmers markets, but they have a very short shelf life, you know. So you got to grow them yourself if you want to eat some of the best foods on the planet, the delicious berries. So now I'm going to take you guys in the area of the Fruit and Spice Park that actually is growing the herbs as well as some vegetables. It's over in this area. They have kind of sectioned off, and then they have everything in raised beds. Now, one of the things I want to say is, man, I'm here early on a Monday, and it's just really pleasant here. It's like, I swear, like I saw one other maintenance guy inside the park here. I'm like the only one wandering around, and it's just really nice to be out in the warm Florida sun, wandering around a park, one guy with one camera making a video to share with you guys. But yeah, I mean, I love just getting out to nature, and I think, you know, you guys that are on your computer all day and all this stuff, you need to get out to nature, man. Whether you want to go out in your backyard and work in your garden like I do every day if I'm home, or out visiting public parks like this that have, you know, edibles growing, even better, or just a regular public park to go hiking and get connected back with nature. I think everybody, we all need to have some nature time in our lives, and it's sad that most of us don't get this nature time. Anyways, let's go ahead and head into this area of the garden to show you guys what's growing on. So now we're inside the herb and vegetable garden here at the Fruit and Spice Park, and they have a lot of different things growing. You know, they got like sweet potatoes, they got different kind of chives and horseradish, and right here we have actually mints. One of the things I really like and want to commend the Fruit and Spice Park on is actually the labeling of fruit trees and other plants. It's quite often that I go into different, you know, farms or gardens, even botanical gardens, and things are just not labeled, and this doesn't help out anybody. You know, I mean, a big part of the park, besides providing people a fun experience, is the education, so that people can become more familiar with the great foods of the earth, and more specifically that grow well here in the South Florida area. So here they have things like the mint, cotton candy, banana mint, ginger mint, and I'm sure they have plenty of other kinds of mints, and you know, they got everything labeled. So I don't want to spend too much time here, but I do want to share with you guys a few more things growing in this area that I think may be of interest to you guys. So probably the most important thing that I want to share with you guys from this section where they're growing the vegetables is a lot of the common vegetables that you may have grown from the north don't necessarily grow too well here in South Florida. Some of the ones that I've seen in this garden that are doing quite well are the radishes, the collard greens are doing quite well, the carrots are doing quite well. And some things that are not doing quite well are actually the lettuces that are actually all going to bolt pretty quick and not doing so well. So I'd encourage you guys to focus on the tropical perennial edible vegetables, and hopefully I'll find an area here at the Fruit and Spice Park with those. Those are vegetables such as the Okinawan spinach, longevity spinach, the Malabar spinach, the katuk, those ones, even something like the chaya or the belay. Those are all perennial edible vegetables that you could just grow in your landscape because they'll grow year round and provide a wealth of food for you guys. And it's sad that, you know, not enough places have these growing, you know, to show people what they are and that they can be easily grown as a fruit tree here in South Florida, because growing a fruit tree here in South Florida is a lot easier than growing, you know, some of the northern vegetables that we're all used to and love from the grocery store. And the reason for this is simply the weather here is warmer, and the vegetables and sold in the grocery store are good in the cold. Now, why is that? Because in commercial trade, they have to store and ship vegetables in refrigeration, and these vegetables do really well in the cold, whether they're growing in the cold or whether they're storing in the cold, because for them, once they've been cut, they just think they're, you know, getting another cold spell, and they kind of go into shut down, slower respiration, so that they could preserve their life longer and stay alive. So yeah, tropical vegetables, you got to grow those if you're in South Florida. All right, last shot here in the vegetable and herb garden. I want to show you guys some cool herbs that I believe everybody should grow. So the one herb that I believe everybody should grow, which is actually also a vegetable, are the allium family of plants. So the onions and the garlics. Literally, this is how easy onion and garlic is to plant. Go buy an onion from the store, and if it sprouts up and starts to shoot up, just plant it in the ground. It'll actually grow more of the onion greens. You could do the same with, you know, garlic, shallots, and even elephant garlic, which is actually not even a garlic. But plant those, and then you want to harvest the greens. The greens are more nutritious and have a nice flavor punch, you know, unlike the bulbs that we're used to eating. Plus, because they are greens in the above growth, they also contain the chlorophyll. And it's been shown that the onion and garlic family of plants have anti-cancer compounds within them, so that it could keep you healthy and disease-free. So I like to include onion and garlic in my diet almost every day. Wow, this stuff has a really nice fragrance to it. So yeah, grow those in your herb garden. Plus, they're very tolerant of most weathers, you know. Garlic chives, onion chives, you know, there's different kinds of bulbing onions and clumping onions and walking onions. So many kinds, so little time, but just get some to grow in your herb garden and use them regularly in your recipes. So one of the things I encourage you guys to do while you're at the Fruit and Spice Park is to take the included free Tram tour ride. So you guys can see they got a John Deere tractor and they're pulling, you know, Tram, and they're gonna basically take you guys around and show you guys the park, show you guys some of the edibles, talk about the park. It's a nice learning experience. It's interactive because you could ask the guide questions, especially if it's a day like today when there's maybe like 3 other people here. So that's definitely going to be really cool. At present time, they do it at like 11, 1:30, and 3 o'clock. So I'm going to get on the 11 o'clock bus. So one of the things I'm enjoying here at the Fruit and Spice Park are the signs. So I'm glad that they actually have signage to basically educate the public and visitors about some of these tropical fruits that most Americans are unfortunately not familiar with, because these are fruits from tropical countries that don't necessarily come from or are grown in any large fashion in the US. In addition, many of them are actually not even shippable, you know, because they're not going to make the trans because they're picked ripe, and then you need to kind of eat them then and there. So this is one of the family of fruits that I really like a lot. It's a Sapotaceae family. And they got the mamey sapote, the canistel, the green sapote, the cinnamon apple, sapodilla, star apple, abu. And yeah, so it's really cool. And every tree, virtually every tree, not every tree, but virtually every tree has a tag on it, so you could identify and get to know the tree. And you could see the fruit that's growing on there, and you know, see the leaf structure and all this stuff. I mean, to me, if you're into like edible fruit trees and botanical edibles and stuff, this is a cool place, trust me. So what I want to share with you guys next is actually a pretty huge tree. It's all the way back there. It doesn't look too big on the video. Actually, I'm taller than it. That's because I'm closer to the camera. But that's probably like at least like, I don't know, 75, 80 yards away. It's actually quite tall and quite massive. And this is known as the African baobab tree. So actually I want to go ahead and give you guys a close-up of show you guys the trunk to show you guys how massive this tree is. So now I'm at the base of the African baobab tree, and this thing is massive. Actually, I can take my arms, wrap around it, and man, it is so huge. And I guess now you guys call me a true tree hugger. So the baobab tree actually makes these baobab fruit, which is really cool. And these ones here don't fruit because they're pollinated by bats that actually don't have here in South Florida. This guy right here, I think, is like 30-something years old, so he's actually been growing here quite a while. And I want to let you guys know, when you grow a fruit tree, you know, that's an investment. It's not just like growing some annual vegetables that are maybe going to be, you'll be harvesting from for the next, you know, month to 6 months, maybe a year on the outset. But fruit trees are there to last. I mean, there's some fig trees that I've visited that are over 100 years old. Completely amazing. So yeah, if you are going to plant some fruit trees, please take some time to think about the fruit tree you're planting and how it's going to last in your environment and how it will feed the future generations. So it's not something to just, oh yeah, just buy a Home Depot fruit tree and plant it. There's many considerations you guys should take into consideration. Like, if you plant one of these, will it even fruit in South Florida? But if you want the baobab fruit, don't worry. Go to your local health food store, and they're now selling baobab fruit powders. Actually, they're quite high in vitamin C. They have more vitamin C than even oranges. So I'm just wandering around here at the Fruit and Spice Park, and definitely wear some comfortable shoes. Luckily, I always travel with comfortable shoes. I don't wear any high heels, ladies. So anyways, I've been hiking around and getting a lot of good exercise on, getting some good sun, enjoying just the beauty of this park, and of course, you know, trying to find something to eat. And it actually has been a little bit of a challenge. Aside from the star fruit I had earlier, I hadn't really found any fruit on the ground until now. So if we look under this tree, you guys are going to see like all these rotten, unfortunately, avocados. So I mean, it kind of makes me sad that all these you know, fruits are rotting and nobody's getting to enjoy them. But at the same time, I'm glad people aren't like picking the fruit and taking it away from the park. I mean, after all, this is not a farm. This is a park so that, you know, people could see and experience the fruits that are being grown here. So I'm thankful for that. Now, we're pretty much at the end of avocado season, and just by chance I looked down, and one of the cool things is, you know, is that we can see colors. And I believe this is because, you know, it's important for us to differentiate ripe fruit from unripe fruit. And so when I looked down, I instantly saw this. And I was like, yes, I found a ripe avocado. I don't think there's any ripe avocados left on this tree except this, and it is here waiting for me. So this is a Booth avocado. You guys may be familiar with the Hass avocado. Hass avocado is like a high oil content avocado, originally from California. Now it's grown all over as the predominant avocado. If you go into a grocery store, that's the one you're gonna find. But I like these kind, right? Because they actually are lower in fat content, higher in water content. So they're not quite as like creamy and rich, but they're really delicious. So, you know, these guys are ready when just a tad bit soft. This is a tad bit soft. Could go another day or two, but since I can't take any fruit from here, I'm gonna open this up on site for you guys and show you guys what we got inside. Hopefully it's not all rotten. All right. So you can see, always when you pick an avocado at the store, I always encourage you guys, you know, if you don't know if it's gonna be good or not, because a lot of times they sell fruit that's like bad on the inside. I pop off the little nubby top. And inside the nubby top, that's definitely a good sign. You know, it's kind of nice and green. I don't have a knife with me because I'm traveling on the airplane, can't take knives. So we're just gonna break it open with my fingernail. I like to have sharp fingernails. So we're just using my fingernail as a knife to score all the way around this avocado fruit. Yeah, this one definitely looks like a good one. All right, scored around it. Now we're just gonna use my human power strength to rip. All right, there we go. It looks like we got one ripe avocado. Wish I would have brought some salt and some spices. I could have made some guacamole for lunch. All right, but I don't care, man. I'm gonna eat this stuff straight up. Think it, you know, it's a tad bit underripe. Could go like another day or two on the counter, but I think this will be plenty good for me to eat since I'm actually quite hungry today and haven't eaten a lot. All right, yeah, no bug damage. That's a good sign. Oh, you know what? Actually, if it got too soft, it wouldn't be good. This is the perfect stage of ripeness. You can look for like Florida avocados, you know. Sometimes your local grocery store gets them. Especially on the East Coast, West Coast, can be hard to find these Florida ones. And for me personally, I'd much always rather have a USA grown avocado than some of the imported crap that were being shipped up from Chile, Peru, or Mexico. Those avocados, in my opinion, suck. Better yet, live in Southern California, here in South Florida, South Texas, even like places like Arizona, or some of the Gulf states where it stays a bit warmer. You want to grow your own avocados because those are absolutely the best. So check this out, man. Doesn't this look beautiful? I mean, it reminds me of the Sound of Music, just all this grass and then like just rows and rows of fruit trees. And I'm in a far corner of the park here, and I'm almost like, I'm just by myself. There's like nobody for miles. Well, not at least for hundreds of yards anyways. So it's really cool. There's probably less than a dozen people here at the park today. It's just a quiet day and it's early. Oh, and this is a particularly cold day for people in South Florida. The day started out, then overnight was like 40s. It started out this morning in the 50s, and then it's probably in the 60s today. So most y'all from down here are like freezing. I'm like, woo, this is warm, man. I'm in the subtropics. But anyways, yeah, we're in the avocado section, and just so many avocado trees. Doesn't look like, you know, people come back to this much, because this is like really off the beaten path. And then actually over this section is definitely gonna be barren this time of year. This is the mango orchard. They probably have over 100 varieties of different mangoes, and that's the time you probably definitely want to come. You know, if you love mangoes, you want to come here, because I could just foresee all the abundance of fallen fruit on the ground with over 100 varieties to try. You know, come in July or August when it's mango season, man, you will probably just be in like mango heaven here at the Fruit and Spice Park. But make sure you bring a knife. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and continue on my tour and see if I could find some other cool stuff to share with you guys today. So even though I know a lot about tropical fruits and vegetables and all this stuff, it's cool because when I come to a place like this, I always learn a few new things to add to my repertoire of knowledge. And this trip, you know, I learned about how to identify specifically different varieties of coconuts. So for example, you know, I know there's like the Thai coconut variety. That's the kind that you may get that looks like a little yurt in an Asian market. They're shipped over from Thailand, and they seemingly all are sweet. It's like the same genetic variety. They're all sweet coconuts, and people get to think, and people get to used to, and to them, that's what a coconut is, a Thai coconut. But in nature, there's many varieties of coconuts, much like there are many varieties of apples. And you know, I know this, and like some coconuts, when I've been in you know, Hawaii, for example, I get some coconuts, they taste really good, and some don't taste so good. So I've learned that, you know, some of the ones that generally taste better are the ones that are like yellow or orange, and those are usually like maybe more of a dwarf variety, and they're sweeter than the big, like, you know, Fijian or Samoan coconuts that, you know, the trees get tall and huge, but the nut on the inside is a little bit small, and maybe not so much water, and maybe it's not so tasting good. But this trip I learned a few things. So like you could tell the different varieties of coconuts. I have the two different you know, palms behind me. This on this side is a Fijian style coconut, and this is a some kind of dwarf coconut. I'm not exactly sure the variety, but there's a few ways to tell. Number one, you want to look for the spines. So the spines and the stalks on this are actually have a yellow tinge. I don't know if you guys could see that over at the base there. They're kind of yellow tinged. The yellow tinge, that's one way to tell. Then this one, you know, it's actually all green. And then the other way to tell is actually if the leaves are overlapping or non-overlapping. So that was like new to me. I was like, whoa, that's really cool, because I knew about the color thing. So these leaves, like, they're right in the center, and the leaves pretty much, like, you know, don't overlap too much. They overlap a little bit. But if we look over on this side, I mean, the leaves are like really, really overlapping. So, you know, if you're looking for some thatch for like a house, you know, that kind that's way more overlapping to absorb more of the sun rays and, you know, get the rain off your roof would be definitely better to use. Yeah, the Fijian style. But to eat, I would definitely prefer this side. So now I'm in the area with all the banana plants around me. Now, bananas are not trees, they're actually herbaceous shrubs. But nonetheless, they have many varieties growing here at the Fruit and Spice Park. And what we're looking at is a new area they built probably just within the last couple of years. It's their banana bunker. And what they have a protected area where they actually hang the ripe bananas for the visitors to the park to try. So today they have 1,000 fingers that has like 1,000 fingers, you know, or bananas on one bunch of bananas. They have the rose, the goldfinger, another goldfinger, a hua moa, dwarf Brazil, ice cream, red Cavendish, praying hands, cardolia, and Mysore. Unfortunately, to my standards, these guys are not ripe, and some of them are actually looking overripe. So how they fill this up is actually when they're thinning out the trees, pruning them, keeping them all nice and tidy. When they find a ripe rack, they'll throw them up here and then make those available for people to eat. But, you know, most bananas can be eaten in their green state, but I don't enjoy them. I want to encourage you guys to eat your bananas when they're fully ripe and fully sweet. But I think it's good to let people know about all the varieties of bananas. Of some of the varieties actually they're growing here. They grow, I think, over 70 varieties here. Now I know it's been in the news a lot lately, like, John, we're gonna lose the bananas, man. There's like some disease and it's gonna affect the banana plants and all this stuff. We're gonna lose the standard, you know, variety that's sold in the store, and that's known as the Cavendish. Actually, I wouldn't be sad if the Cavendish variety disappeared, because in my opinion, that's one of the crappiest bananas to eat, especially when it's harvested green and then gassed with ethylene gas, yes, even the organic ones, and they don't taste like anything, whereas some of the bananas here have amazing flavor. So I'm actually all for a new variety coming out. And actually what I'd really like is that all these banana varieties that are being grown here to be put into trade, so you could go into any grocery store and get, you know, a dozen varieties or 24 varieties of bananas instead of just the standard Cavendish, and they just call it banana. Whereas if you go into most grocery stores, you could get many different, you know, varieties of apples. So, you know, in my opinion, the answer to diseases and fungus in the environment is, you know, sometimes definitely some varieties are more tolerant and, you know, resistant to certain diseases. But in my opinion, the way the system is set up now with using conventional fertilizers, that's not really, you know, feeding the plant to its core. It grows bananas and it grows them, but maybe the plant is not as healthy as it could be. You know, like, for example, if people ate McDonald's and fast food diets, you know, we're not going to be as healthy as if we get, you know, all our nutrition and antioxidants and phytochemicals from fruits and vegetables, right? And if we feed plants like, you know, real nutrition, you know, rock dust, trace minerals, ocean solid trace minerals, organic matter, as well as the microbiology, bacteria and funguses and whatnot, so that the system could be healthy, because it's actually these bacteria and funguses that are living in the soil that are not there in a chemical-based system. These things in the soil actually also inhibit and prevent the plant from getting diseases. I mean, they are a level of protection for the plant. They help the plant absorb nutrients, and also they keep the bad stuff out. And that's actually how we work. We have, probiotics or beneficial bacteria and yeasts in our gut that help us digest our food, but also comprise of our immune system. And I think this is where, conventional agriculture really got it backwards, and they're fighting an uphill battle, and they're just losing, in my opinion. So they really need to even go beyond organic growing standards and really work on building the soil to build healthy plants, to build healthy people. Let's go ahead and tour around a little bit more of the Fruit and Spice Park today. So I'm just hiking around the Fruit and Spice Park today, and where I'm gonna go ahead and into next is actually that big greenhouse right there in front of me. Now, we couldn't even go on this on the tour. They take you on the Tram tour, and we couldn't even go on this because they didn't want to even open up the big, garage door to let the cold air in, because these are the ultra tropical trees that cannot be grown, in the outdoors here in South Florida. As tropical as I believe this is really a subtropical environment, and many tropicals can be grown here, as can some subtropicals that we might see near the end of the video. But inside there, they're super tropical, so actually I'm gonna go ahead and go in the regular door that won't let too much of the cold air in, and show you guys around. I'm just about ready to walk in the door of the greenhouse, and I found a nice starfruit tree here, and looking down, I found a nice starfruit. Well, the backside kind of got eaten by bugs, but that's all right. I could get a bite or two off this side. Wipe it off first. Man, this one's even way better than the first one I had earlier today. Definitely a nice watery snack, since I've been getting kind of thirsty on my hike around. All right, now we're going in the tropical greenhouse in here, and it's definitely a few degrees warmer in here, and basically they usually run tours through here. But man, it's pretty nice in here. I like it. I could live in here, actually. Just set me up a bed and a kitchen. All right, let me go ahead and show you guys what's happening. So inside here, they basically have all these, some things are planted in the grounds, like some really cool, variegated bananas. But they also have a lot of things in big containers, and this is how you guys could grow at home. They also have a heater in here, so it's been keeping it nice and warm during the evening. And they got things that are much more, sensitive to the cold weather, that can't even, handle or wouldn't be optimal outside. So velvet tamarind, rambutans, they got durians, some breadfruit, and I know a whole bunch of other cool stuff. So let me go ahead and walk around and see if I can find anything cool to share with you guys. So if one of your favorite fruits is the durian, I've definitely found the tree they have growing here at the Fruit and Spice Park, and it's not looking too healthy to me. So, don't buy property in South Florida to grow durian. It's not the optimal climate here. I would much rather personally grow jackfruit anyway. So if you want to grow durian in the United States, I would probably definitely recommend moving to Hawaii, because you could grow them there. But yeah, here it's just not looking super healthy, and even with the kerosene heater, that I could smell the kerosene fumes, because they've been running that, yeah, it's not looking too good. And many of the plants they have in here doesn't necessarily need to be grown inside the greenhouse, but they're growing it in here anyway, maybe just to fill some space up. So behind me, what you guys are looking at right here is known as a Moringa tree. And, I wish that this Moringa tree would be featured much more, in the front and center at the Fruit and Spice Park. I mean, it actually doesn't even have a tag on it, which is kind of sad to me. I mean, most things are actually tagged, which I'm actually quite impressed with. But the Moringa is, in my opinion, like a staple green leafy tree vegetable that should be grown in every household in South Florida. Literally, it's a tree that just grows leafy green vegetables that you could eat year-round, day after day, year after year. In addition, you could also eat the drumsticks as well as the flowers. Here's a little flower here. It's actually currently flowering. It's really pretty. They actually smell kind of nice, and then gets eaten. Nice, more mellow flavor than the leaves itself that can be tasting a little bit strong. Moringa has a variety of uses, and more people should be familiar and know about the Moringa. And literally, this is also, you could start this from seeds and or cuttings. Like a branch cutting, you just cut it and you stick it in the ground, strip the leaves off, stick it in the ground, and then it'll actually root and grow into a new tree for you. And once it gets yay high, just knock it back and keep it in the ground. It'll actually sprout up new stuff. You could take that cutting that you knocked off to keep it low and put it in the ground next door and grow more Moringa. I mean, this is really one of these up-and-coming food crops. If you're unable to get local Moringa, you could order seeds online. If you just want to try it, you could get green powders of the Moringa leaf, dried Moringa leaf at your local health food store, but it actually can get expensive. So I would definitely just recommend you guys grow it. And even in a northern climate, you could grow this in the summertime, you know, when it doesn't freeze, but make sure you put it in a pot, bring it inside before it freezes, and you can keep it inside throughout the winter, and then once again take it outside in the summer. So it'd probably be good to grow it in a container, you know, if you don't live here in South Florida. So now I'm in an area of the Fruit and Spice Park that doesn't look quite as bountiful as the other areas I showed you. I mean, I personally like, you know, subtropicals and tropicals that are like evergreen, that always have their leaves year round. Now we're in the more temperate area zone of the Fruit and Spice Park, but yet you see they have temperate climate crops. And you know, I don't know why anybody would want to grow an apple here in South Florida. I'd much rather eat, you know, bananas, you know, a mesa pote, chico sapote, jackfruit, carambola. I'd rather eat any of those than an apple. But hey, there's an apple that works here. It's the Golden Dorset variety, and that's this right here. And in addition, they have different, you know, low chill hours, you know, peaches and plums and things like that, persimmons and whatnot. So you can't even grow those, and because this is not a truly tropical environment, you can get away with this. And even on places like Hawaii, you know, I've had apples and peaches that are grown in Hawaii. But see, the thing about that is that actually they're grown up on the mountain in elevation, you know, where you do get colder weather. So yeah, there's always a way to grow some fruit today, depending on where you live, the climate, and of course, using certain varieties. So no matter where you choose to grow your fruit trees, I always encourage you guys, besides having good genetics, is to have a good, you know, base or food that you're feeding the fruit trees. And I don't necessarily recommend the 10-10-10 or 15-15-15 or citrus fertilizers. What I recommend for you guys is using more of an organic approach, the approach that a forest would use. I mean, you know, when I visited some cool permaculture forest gardens and whatnot, they basically you know, take leaves and branches of trees and feed them to other trees, whether you want to, you know, wood chip them up and feed them as a mulch, or, you know, whether you want to just lay down full branches right below the trees, you know, it will break down over time and then feed the trees. This is how nature systems work. There's no, you know, fertilizer pixies spreading around 10-10-10 or citrus fertilizer or fruit tree fertilizer to the plants. You know, nature is constantly rebuilding and adding to the soil as things compost down. You know, a lot of people may use manures, and while you know, there's some benefits to using manure, you have to be careful with many manures these days because they may have contamination, either, you know, biological contamination, GMO contamination, drug contamination, heavy metal contamination. So you really got to pay attention if you are using manure products. So that's why I prefer, you know, using a plant-based, you know, nutrition in the source of, you know, just broken down plant matter to feed the trees. The other thing that's important for me, of course, are the trace minerals, adding something like the ocean solution or ocean solids to add up to 90 trace minerals, both foliar fed and into the ground, and also the rock dust minerals that will add up to 70 different trace minerals, where most, you know, fertilizers may add 3, but maybe up to 16 or so. So, you know, I really want to get the range of nutrition into the fruit tree so that they could be as healthy as they can, and they will thrive in whatever you throw at it. Oh, of course, last step, of course, very important for fruit trees and any other plant you're going to grow, is to get the microbiome or the biology in there, the beneficial bacteria and fungi, mycorrhiza fungi, and all the creatures that live in the soil, and to enliven and bring the soil alive. Because chemical farming, you know, the fertilizers from the, you know, nursery and big box store, 10-10-10s and all these things, they destroy the soil microbiome. So over time, you know, your trees can live on that stuff, but it's like us living on some vitamin pills. We need to live on real food, and we need to feed these real foods to our trees so that they could be as healthy as they can. And I hope they have a good nutrition program here at the Fruit and Spice Park, because I actually haven't even inquired. Anyways, I want to show you guys one more clip here at the Fruit and Spice Park before I actually got to get out of here and check out another farm today. So this brings me to the end of my episode here at the Fruit and Spice Park today. You know, I really love this park, and I wish that there would be more parks just like this all over the country, highlighting the edible fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds or herbs that can be grown wherever these parks are. And I really like that they're here, you know, primarily as an education piece to get people connected back to food. And they've been doing this for over 70 years. I mean, they are front runners and forerunners in this local food movement by showing locals what can be grown here and inspire them to grow more local foods. And this is what we need more of in our country today. I mean, most parks are just like behind me, you know, they got a fountain with a lake and some grassy fields and picnic tables, which they actually also have here, but they really have a lot of fruit trees here and other edibles. You know, some of my comments to the Fruit and Spice Park, if I was in charge or had any kind of a say in what was going on, I would try to plant a perennial edible vegetable garden in here to let people know what edibles they could grow even in the summer season that will thrive, because this is something that I see really missing in South Florida gardens and farms that I'm visiting. There's just not that many perennial vegetables, and they're not highlighted as much as they should, because everybody that has a home here in South Florida should plant, in my opinion, you know, a couple fruit trees that they like, but more importantly, the perennial vegetables, so that all this produce does not need to be shipped in, because they are really easy to grow. Also, the other thing I'd really like to see is an area with the carbohydrate-rich tubers. I mean, they had a few scattered here and there, maybe in the vegetable garden, but these are also staple crops for many people around the world, and it'd be really good to highlight some of these food crops, because when shit hits the fan, if it does or if it doesn't, you know, we will need to produce high quantity of carbohydrate-rich foods to live on, aside from the nutritional powerhouses of the leafy greens, and they're kind of weak on this respect as well. I mean, they had taro and cassava and some sweet potatoes, but really to have a section and to really have a nice sign to educate people about carbohydrate-rich foods and how the majority of the world, even at this time in 2016, live on carbohydrate-rich foods. And you know, some of those root crops could be easily grown here in you know, super easily in South Florida. So I think that'd be a really good display as well. So if you guys enjoyed this episode of me visiting the Fruit and Spice Park today, hey, please give me a thumbs up to let me know. I'll be sure to come back and visit the Fruit and Spice Park next time and make another video, because you never know what I'll be showing you or what I'll be sharing with you. Also, be sure to check my past episodes. I have over 1,100 episodes now teaching you guys all aspects of how you guys could grow your own food at home, with several dozen videos here that I've made in South Florida. And also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below to be notified of my new and upcoming episodes that I have coming out about every 3 to 4 days, because you never know where I'll be showing up or what you will be learning on my Growing Your Greens channel. So once again, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time. And until then, remember, keep on growing. All right, this is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. Today, another exciting episode for him. Still on my vacation here in Miami, Florida, having a wonderful time. The weather is beautiful today. It's actually supposed to rain, but it's actually kind of sunny.